Replace curse words with blessed words. Blessing is not pretending that what they did didn't hurt you. Blessing is refusing to let their evil recruit your mouth. It's refusing to let what they're saying and doing all of a sudden recruit you to be just as dark and as fake or as gossipy as they are. All right, so here in Romans 12:17, we see Paul tackles a number of different subjects related to the outside world. And it's interesting to see how the gospel could shape our thoughts regarding our enemies or the government or our neighbors or the temptations of the world. And what he does in verse 14, look back at verse 14, bless those who persecute, bless and do not curse them. Paul is calling us to live out a higher ethic. Our speech is practiced in the church, but our speech is proven in the world. In other words, it's easy for you and I to model grace and humility and kind words to one another because we see Jesus for who he is. Or at least if you're a Christian, that's the way it should be. Blessing and cursing in the first century, especially in an honor-shame culture, it's not just like words. In Paul's world, speech was like social power. You can elevate somebody with speech. You could destroy somebody with speech. You could brand somebody with speech by calling them a certain name, or you could exclude somebody with speech. So Paul starts at the very first battlefield, which is the tongue. And this is our first point for today. He talks about how we have a different mouth. We have a different ethic when it comes to the way we talk. Everyone say different mouth. I don't know if you grew up with a parent that would tempt you, or not tempt you, threaten you with washing your mouth out with soap. Anybody? Okay, like if you say that again, I will wash your mouth out with soap. And I think that at an elementary level, it's like Christianity 101 is don't cuss, okay? But I want to get under the layer of why God's people don't talk in a certain way. Before I do that, I want to share a story with you. I visited a bunch of pastors when we first moved to Charleston. It was twofold. One, I wanted to know what was going well in the city, and I wanted a pastoral perspective of the city. What pastors who have been pastoring here for 10 minutes thought about Charleston, and what pastors who have been here for 2 decades thought about Charleston. So I'd sit across the table from these pastors and get lunch with them, and I'd ask them all sorts of questions. What's going well here? If you could change one thing in Charleston, what would you change? 40 people per day are moving here, and local pastors that were like actually born here would be like, oh my goodness, and our infrastructure can't handle it, and the traffic. And it's like, okay, but there has to be something beyond the traffic that is happening in Charleston because God is sovereign, and 40 people a day are moving to this city. It's the third fastest growing city in America. And this one pastor I sat down with, I kid you not, I won't say his name, sat down with him, and he was like, man, I'm going to like you. And I'm like, okay, why? And this is what he said. He said, because when I cussed, you didn't flinch. That was it. And I'm like, okay, let me reframe that for a second. And this is what I thought in my mind. So I didn't say this out loud, but I thought, wait a second. You're going to like me because I'm a pastor too, and when you dropped a cuss word, it didn't seem to bother me. Why? Like, why is that a thing? Why is that even okay? Why is it okay for us to claim to believe in a resurrected Jesus Christ, but then we just completely dismiss verses like, where the heart overflows, the tongue confesses. So here's what happens when you cuss. You're telling me that there's junk in here and it has nowhere else to go but come out of your mouth. And it's not this. It's not, I'm better than you, and so I talk nice. That is not it. It is a virtue of, this is the best example I can give you. When my daughter grows up, I want her to marry a man who has learned, like James 3 instructs us, to tame his tongue. James 3 describes the tongue as like a rudder on a ship. It doesn't matter how big or massive the ship is. All it takes is a little bit of tiny rudder, and you turn it just a little bit, and it steers the entire direction of the ship. This is your tongue. This is how powerful speech is. James goes on to say it's like a bit in a horse's mouth, like a bridle. That if I put just a little bit of tension on the left side or a little bit of tension on the right side, I can turn the entire horse. And I know in like picture books and on the internet and on TV, horses don't look that big. But then when you're downtown Charleston, you're walking along, and all of a sudden you're like right next to one of those massive horses. You're like, oh man, all it takes is this tiny thing in that big horse's mouth, and I can control the whole. This is your tongue. This is how important it is to tame your tongue. Proverbs says that our speech has the power to give life and, say it with me, death. Do we believe that though, church? Do we believe that when I speak, I'm either tearing people down or I'm building people up? Paul isn't calling them to be passive. He's calling them to be active in a world that is in opposition to their faith. John MacArthur makes this exact same point. The command isn't to do nothing. The command isn't in loving our enemies to sit back and say nothing and not defend ourselves. No, it's an active response of blessing. It's when your enemies curse you, you bless them. And then if we were to connect it to Jesus, Jesus commands this pattern in Matthew 5:44 and Luke 6. In Proverbs 18:21, I just quoted this, life and death are in the power of the tongue. It's a different way to say it. And then Matthew 12:34, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Or your translation might say, the tongue confesses. And so do not be surprised. Do not. Everyone say do not. Do not be surprised when the world curses you. They're going to. Do not be surprised when your coworkers mock you. They're going to. Do not be surprised when Hollywood makes fun of our faith. They're going to. They're going to belittle it, and they're going to downplay it, and they're going to act like it's unintelligible and it's disconnected from reality, and there's no logic or reasoning to our faith, that we're just a bunch of cute Christians and we believe in this thing called the Bible, and so we speak better because it's just cute and it goes along and it plays along. We got to act the part. And no. We believe that words create and destroy, that they give life. And I've said this before, I'll prove it to you. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and God spoke. He said, let there be light. And now you and I can see that when somebody uses their words and they're not intelligent with them, we don't pause enough. I want to give you a couple practical applications, okay? This is called a 10-second sanctification pause. And if that sounds really interesting to you and you've never heard that before, it's because I made it up, okay? 10-second sanctification pause, okay? Before you respond, pause for 10 seconds and pray one sentence. Here's the prayer. Lord, make my words match your heart. Now that sounds really cheesy, doesn't it? Would you agree? Can I get one head nod that sounds super cheesy? Lord, make my words match your heart. Like it's a Tuesday and you're tired and you just worked all day. And you're really going to pause for 10 seconds and be like, Lord Jesus, make my words match your heart. I'll give you an example. This past week, we had a long day. And then Rachel was trying to plan something with me, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I had my phone out, and I'm listening, okay? I'm an expert at it. I got 2 degrees, and there's whole blocks of how to listen well. And she's sitting and she's talking. We're talking about a trip or something, and I'm listening, and then all of a sudden I hear this question, are you even listening? And in the moment, it's like everything that I've studied just leaves my brain and takes an exit, okay? Because what I want to do is not speak intelligibly or gently or, you guys have been there, right? But how much would it help my marriage if on a consistent basis my kids got to watch me go, okay, I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. You know what? You're right. I'm going to put the phone away. I'm going to face her. I'm going to look her right in the eye. Yeah, okay. When are we going on the next vacation, right? And I'm going to listen. Like, it would help. Let me ask you this. Would it have had helped your parents' marriage if your dad would have paused a little bit more before he spoke and responded? Like, would it have made a difference if your mom, before reacting to something that happened in the world, if she would have paused and asked the Lord to guard her speech, Lord, make my speech match your heart? I'll give you another application. Replace curse words with blessed words. Blessing is not pretending that what they did didn't hurt you. Blessing is refusing to let their evil recruit your mouth. It's refusing to let what they're saying and doing all of a sudden recruit you to be just as dark and as fake or as gossipy as they are. And then I think pray for people by name. The people that you actually want to heap cursing on and that you want to see the Lord actually punish, It's those individuals that we need to pray for by name. Lord, would you bless them? Would you lead them? Would you give wisdom from above? Would you show them their broken ways and their broken thoughts? Would you save them, Lord? It's really hard to be angry at somebody that you're praying for. And then the last application, man, I really hope that 1027 Church creates a culture where there's no gossip. And it would be supernatural if we're able to accomplish this, church. We're all guilty of gossip. I'm going to give you a couple definitions for gossip. Gossip is talking about someone who isn't present with malicious intent. So it's not just talking about somebody when they're not present. We wouldn't be able to function if that was true. When you're not around, we talk about you, okay? That's just what happens. The question is can you trust my heart when I'm saying something about you and you're not present? And because if gossip was just talking about somebody when they're not present, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, did you see her hair? It looked amazing, right? That's not, every woman's happy with that, right? At least I hope. It's not my hair they're talking about. That doesn't happen. I think that when it comes to gossip, the goal is that we assume the best of one another. That we give each other the benefit of the doubt. Another definition, gossip is telling a third person what you should tell the person. This happens all the time in Christian circles. And remember, these things we're supposed to practice in the church so that they're proven in the world. But the problem, I think, is that we never get to prove it to the world because we don't practice it amongst each other. And so here's what happens. When somebody comes to you with a complaint and it's about another person, the first thing that should be said is, have you talked to them about it? Well, because And this isn't like one of those things where we have to decide which Christian is stronger or whether or not like drinking is a sin for you and it's not a sin for, this is not that. The Bible is very, very clear. You have a grievance with a brother, go to him, go to her, talk about the grievance. And we don't do that. What we'd rather do is recruit somebody that wants to listen and just make us feel better about the fact that we feel angry towards a brother. But guys, we got to model this. Gossip is, this is what it sounds like. I'm just concerned. I'm worried about them because, here she goes again. And it's the language we use is a contempt. It's a judging language. And or in Christian circles, it's like, hey, we need to pray for so-and-so. Did you hear that? You fill in the blank. And we use prayer requests as a way to just like out people. Okay, listen. If we can't control our speech inside the church, we don't stand a chance outside of it. Application number 4. Don't be surprised when the world speaks differently than you. Jesus said the world will hate his people, John 15:18. And so when coworkers mock you, you shouldn't be surprised. When someone dismisses your faith, you shouldn't be surprised. And I think that if you belong to Jesus, we're not just copying the way he acted and talked. We are being shaped to become like him. Sanctification is being transformed supernaturally into the image of Christ. Literally, the word Christian means mini Christ. And one of the most practical ways that we can model Christ is watch your mouth. Like, watch what you say.